I would request the chairperson of the IT committee of the Bengal Chamber, Mr. Arnab Basu, to take forward the session with his opening remarks. Mr. Basu, please. We will take a couple of minutes to check his connectivity. And during this time, let me introduce you to the other speakers. We have Mr. Chiranjeev Bhattacharya, who's the co-chairperson of IT Committee of the Bengal Chamber and CEO of Wisertech Informatics Private Limited. Mr. Shogato Basu, Chief Technology and Digital Officer, Aditya Birla Group Textiles. Mr. Anindya Mitra, Director, IBM Global Business Services, India. Mr. C.N. Raghupati, Senior Vice President, India Business Unit. We also have Professor Chandan Majumdar from Computer Science Department of Jadavpur University. So I would now request Mr. Basu to please take forward the session.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are, sir.
And before Mr. Basu takes forward, just an announcement to make. We have got a very overwhelming response for this program. We have received over 1,200 participants, so we'll be accommodating most of them in this forum. Rest are viewing us in our Facebook. So over to Mr. Basu.
Is it possible for the moderator to mute everybody and then unmute only when somebody is speaking?
Yeah, sir, it is done. It is being done. Only the speakers who are also the co-hosts can unmute themselves whenever they are going to speak. The rest, everyone else is on mute.
Okay, let me start off. I'm still having a bit of difficulty with some chatter coming in, but let me start off. And as mentioned, we have a fairly august and
damn it,
we would like to hear from different parts of the technology industry, not just from the service provider side, but also from the product side, also from the
I don't want to be just I need to. It's like that watching a car crash.
Okay. Am I audible? I don't know. Chiranjeev, can you give a thumbs up if you're being able to hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I can see Mr. Raghupati. Yeah. Okay,
hear you, Arnab. Go ahead.
Sorry, I think that chat is now gone, so I think the moderator is, sort of muted out. So I think, as Angana mentioned, this is an extremely important topic for us because in some ways what we are finding is that this pandemic has also taught us that it is becoming a very technology-first kind of world that we are going to live in. And if we look at the use of technology, it is not just to automate, it is not just to make ease of usage, but in many ways, many of the industries are finding that technology is the way to come out of this crisis. Technology is the way to deal with this crisis in the, in the interim. And technology is also the way to sort of plan for growth. So if all that is true, then if you look at IT as a career choice for people and for the industry who are even a few years into the IT industry, it becomes a very, very important and topical discussion. And hence we thought that we would probably look at not just CIOs to talk about it, but also service providers to talk about it, also product developers to talk about it. And we have a gathering of speakers who have really reached the pinnacle of success in their respective lines in these areas. And we would probably go through some of them. But I think just to set the context, I think one of the few things I wanted to also, sort of highlight was that when we're looking at this, every industry becomes a balance of supply and demand, right? In terms of what's happening, what's being produced. And when we look at IT industry, it's no different. Now, if we look at the overall consumer demand, which is so depressed right now, then what is the focus and what is the opportunity of the IT industry to grow now? Again, if we look at so much of news flow coming around people being laid off in different industries, not just in IT industry, are we looking at a glut of supply, or is it a glut of supply of some skills which is not going to be that much in demand in the future? And is there a major requirement of upskilling in the industry? What is the situation going to be around the entire freelancer community? Again, IT industry, many of you would understand that there's a huge impact of freelancers across the globe on this industry. It is not just about a 9-to-5 job. What would happen to them? What would happen to the freshers? Because if the experienced guys are getting laid off, what is the impact for freshers? Again, a lot of people come out of engineering schools with engineering degrees which are not only in computer science, which are engineering degrees across the spectrum, which could be in mechanical engineering, which could be in electrical engineering. How do we mix IT skills with core industry knowledge? How do we look at the job sector, which has to be seen both in terms of, not just the IT industry, but the core industry? Are they going to recruit? Are they going to recruit in large numbers? And how is the interaction between the core industries and the IT industry going to happen in the future? In my mind, I think the need for an analytical skills, the need for data-driven technologies will keep growing. Okay, they will not grow, go down. They will keep growing. We would see more and more technology coming in. we would see technology coming into every aspect of the work which we are doing. And a lot of things have already happened. If we look at industry by industry, whether we are looking at healthcare, whether we are looking at pharmaceutical, whether we are looking at education, whether we are looking at agriculture, very high degree of automation is coming in, very high degree of digital interactions are coming in. A lot of these solutions are being built for any of these. So with that as a background, what does it do for IT as a career choice for our people? And specifically for India, where if you think of one thing Indians are really known for on the global scale, it is information technology, and the fact that we are one of the leaders in the technology field. So what does it do for India Inc. as a whole is something which we will debate today. Without further ado, I would hand over to Shogato. Shogato Basu is the Chief Technology and Digital Officer of Aditya Birla Group. He has been a close friend over the years, and we have had several conversations around how this sector is getting defined, what it's doing to us in our own careers, in the careers of the juniors who are just coming and entering the industry. So Shogato, over to you if you can start with your discourse on this.
Sure. Good evening, folks. I think it's a great pleasure to be here. It's always interesting to talk to the generation which is probably just getting ready to step out into the corporate world. I can really relate and understand the concerns which you folks have because of the crisis which is going on. I think a long time back ago, probably I was in the same boat as you guys. And this is kind of a cyclical thing. Every few years, these kind of economic downturns do happen. Variety of reasons brings in downturn, but downturns are not uncommon if you look at a 20, 30, 40-year career. So there are a few key messages I would want to give. First is that don't let one event define your life. Yeah, this is a crisis. It is a crisis which is not necessarily in the control of one individual, one corporate, one government. It's a crisis which is affecting all of us, and all of us are really having to fight together to probably win the battle. And in all honesty, we are far away from winning the battle. Maybe the battle will not be won. It will become such that it will become a part and parcel of our life. So mentally, you must be strong to accept that there is something going on which is uncertain, undefined, and it will take you time. This is often easier said than done. So my sincere advice is, beyond education, beyond technology, ensure you have a support system which keeps your mental balance, keeps your mental peace. That is the most important thing for you guys when you're stepping out into your career. That is one. Second, if you see any crisis today, whatever be the crisis, whether it is created by demonetization, whether it is created by governments bringing a surprise in GST, COVID, anything you see it today, technology will have a big role in overcoming that crisis. So I think look at that positive messaging always. If you see, go back and see anything last 5 years. Every crisis, there is one form of technology which has become bigger and has come to the prominence. If you look at demonetization, payment gateways. If you look at GST, it is Aadhaar card. If you look at COVID, virtual collaboration. I think there are what? She said 1,200 people. I would have never imagined 1,200 people listening to us having a panel discussion on Zoom. Impossible. That is the reality and the way forward. So, first question, does IT have a future? Of course it does. IT has a fantastic future for everybody because IT is going to be the mainstream of delivering services, delivering governance, and delivering innovation. There won't be any other platform. Digital is either a superset or a subset of IT, depending on your way of looking at it. It's an enabler. Digital encompasses things beyond technology. So hence, in my mind, it's a superset. Digital talks about technology, talks about experiences, talks about processes. So digital may be another next step for IT people to really aspire because you need to really know the business. The third important piece here, which I want to also highlight, is that for technology people, it is very, very important to kind of keep learning and learn the business well. So many of you, when you're stepping into your career today, I have seen there is an expectation around, should I learn Python? Should I learn PHP? Should I learn SharePoint? These are all tools of the trade. Nothing can define what tool will stand good at what point of time. It is important to know multiple tools. It is important to be mentally ready to learn new things. When I started my career, I started my career in something called as SAP. That was known as the sunrise industry. If you knew SAP, you would go to the US, you would marry well, you would travel the world. Those days are far gone. Today, SAP is a part and parcel of day-to-day technology. People like me who head IT functions, technology functions, we don't look at SAP, we take it largely for granted. Digital is the way forward. Tomorrow, something new will come. So it is important for technology people who want to have a career in technology to keep learning, keep aspiring. Don't get bogged down, my friends. You're just at the cusp of getting into the corporate world. If you find that, the challenges are momentous today, in another 12 months time, you would see the tide has turned and there is a galore of opportunities in front of you. I would be lying if I say that, the next 12 to 18 months will be easy. It won't be. Every economic forecast is saying Indian economy will have a negative for the first time. Global economy will be negative. Europe will be down 11, 12, 15, 20% is what we read about UK today. US will be down 5.5%, 7%. So that is reality. Every sector will get hit, but technology will be the sector which will drive the recovery. That's all I would probably want to start with.
Thanks, Shogata, and I think I can quite appreciate the SAP example which you gave. We've all been part of the SAP bandwagon for some time in our lives, and also very, very pertinent point around, these are events which happen during the life, and then we come out of it and we go into other things. And today it's about digital technologies, and then tomorrow it could be about some new technologies which will come in. So maybe I'll just change track, and Anindo, if I can just go to you to sort of hear from you. Anindo, you've been part of IBM for a very long time, and IBM is one of the larger IT service providers. At the same time, it's also one of the large IT technology product developers. So I think you have the unique view of both from the service side and the product side. Maybe your thoughts.
Right. Thank you, Noban. Good evening to all of you. Just wanted to check, am I audible?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Okay. Thank you. So thank you everyone for joining this important discussion, and thank you to Bengal Chamber for arranging this. I'm sure there's a lot of interest on this topic, and we have like around 1,200 people joining in. And yes, I've been in IBM for a while now, more than 20 years, more than 2 decades. I did my engineering from IIT Kharagpur, then management from IMC, and then joined PwC and now IBM. So what I wanted to do is, with all the depressing news which is around us on the pandemic, in terms of the number of COVID cases going up, the number of lockdowns, the days of lockdown increasing, I actually want to start off with some positive messaging for this team, okay, for all the students who are here. Yes, we are facing a lot of challenges. There's no denying the fact. Yes, the economy is struggling. Okay, but there are some positives coming out of this pandemic as well. The first and foremost, and I'm sure all of you who are joining here are keen to take up your career as an IT professional. So the first and foremost that you have to kind of understand is that because of this pandemic, technology has suddenly come to the forefront. I mean, we all were talking about Industry 4.0. Some of you may have heard about it. We were all talking about digital revolution, which is coming. But because of the pandemic, suddenly we see that all the companies across the globe, there is a sudden mad rush to adopt technology, because come what may, technology will be one of the things which is going to help the companies recover. Okay, so IT function, which was typically a back office function or a cost center, has suddenly now come to the forefront. And there are examples where companies have actually adopted to this technology and moving ahead in spite of all the challenges. Okay, I'll quickly take on two examples, okay, which is very interesting and very contrasting. The first one is that of Walmart. Now, while we hear that almost all companies are having negative growth, imagine how much Walmart has grown in this pandemic era, in this last 2 to 3 months. They are growing, their online sales are growing at a rate of 79%, okay, staggering 79%. The main reason is they've taken on Amazon in terms of the e-commerce, and they are moving ahead on that. The other contrasting fact is an example of another retail store in the US, which is JCPenney, which could not transform, and we all know the story of what happened to JCPenney. So all I'm saying over here is that yes, we are in a challenging time, but the output of this challenging time, when we move into a new normal, okay, when things are going to change, technology is going to play a big role in that. Okay, and that's something which we all as IT professionals should look forward to. The second interesting thing which you may have observed is that because of this pandemic, it has now put a level playing field across the globe. So while yes, countries are shutting down, the state borders are closing down, when it comes to an IT professional, almost everyone is working remotely. Almost everyone is working from home. So it literally does not matter if you are located in Silicon Valley or you are located in Kolkata. And both of the individuals are actually going to work from home. Okay, and they have the same access to the clients or the customers they are working on. Okay, so because of that level playing field, I think there's immense opportunity that's going to come our way, specifically in this part of the country, okay, where you can actually compete with the rest of the world. Okay, so these are just my starting thoughts. Again, we'll have a lot more discussion coming in, and I'll share more of my input. But as of now, I just wanted to start off the discussion with these two positive notes.
Thank you, Anindo. And I think very important points which you raised there. And the fact that, IT would become the way organizations come out of this crisis. I think one of the things I would also like to add is that, if we recall when 9/11 happened, and we were discussing even amongst ourselves, there was this fear that, with this, maybe the airline industry would come to a grinding halt. We would probably see a huge dip in air travel. From at least in the US, there were almost negligible, I would say, security measures before 9/11, and then post 9/11, we went into a world where we would take out everything from our pockets. We would go through a X-ray machine. We would go through all sorts of possible ways of ensuring that we are flying safe. And if you think of the world now, we take that as normal, right? Whatever changes we made post 9/11, the air travel did not go down, and it came back to normal, and then it grew. Secondly, some of the changes which we did during 9/11, post 9/11, they became the new normal. They became the new way of traveling. And so even when we look at COVID today and we look at some of the changes which have been brought in, again, many people have been saying that, okay, what will happen to the hospitality industry and what will happen to this and that. I'm sure we'll find a way of getting back. And in many cases, the way of getting back would be led by IT. It would be led by digital solutions. It would be led by emerging technology solutions, which would allow us to get back into those areas. And those will become the new way of working. Those will become the new way of going to a hotel, new way of, eating out in a restaurant, going to a movie hall. So those kind of things would sort of develop over time. And I'm also very hopeful, like you, that, this is initial reactions have been pretty severe, but I think the global economy is slowly recovering. We have seen the American indices recover quite sharply. We have been talking about L, U, all sorts of curves, but nobody was talking of a V-shaped recovery curve. But we are seeing a V-shaped recovery curve coming up in S&P. So hopefully it will hold, and let's see how it goes. With that, Mr. Raghupati, you have been involved with, again, another IT giant of our own in some way, something which we are very, very proud of. Infosys has been the success story for us as a country, I would say. From your perspective, Mr. Raghupati, your thoughts uh, around this topic, please.
Yeah, thank you, Arnav, and Mr. Basu and Mr. Mitra. I think first of all, Angana, I think it's a really good job. I can see about 500 people, and during the lockdown, I took time to teach, and there's a university in Calcutta for which I did a series of courses on the future of IT. And even at 50, we were afraid whether it'll stand or it'll be stable or not so stable. And I think you've done a really marvelous job in bringing 1,200 people on a platform. So I think kudos to you. I didn't realize that it's going to be such a big gathering. Uh, the common thing that I have is I started my career, my IT career with SAP, with PwC. So obviously Calcutta is quite dear to me. And now coming to the topic per se, it has a little bit to do again with Calcutta because, I think it's the best of times and the worst of times. Like Arnab said, I think there is a mix of optimism and there's a mix of pessimism. But if those of you have read Tom Friedman, there's this famous saying, in every pause there is a change and the change is for good. I was reading Alan Greenspan's autobiography, and he says that post 9/11, if you look at the economic statistics in the US, what had happened was that there was a rise in the economy, but then jobs didn't grow. The reason was that there was if you remember history, those of us who are old enough to remember history, just before the World Trade Center fell down, there was a dot-com boom and bust. And there was a lot of investments that went into IT, both in terms of connectivity, in terms of computerization, in terms of offshoring. And what happened was when companies came up again, they said, okay, why should we hire more people? There's a lot of this investment in IT. So an example is the technology we are talking today. It's not as though Zoom was invented during the lockdown. Zoom has been there for many, many years. But then Zoom, Teams, Skype, Huddle, all of them got a new lease of life in this particular environment. So it's the best of times, as I said, and the worst of times. And it got me thinking because there's this university in Calcutta which I sit on the board, and I've been telling them that I can teach because I'm also a professor at Manipal and I teach at IIT Kharagpur. And I travel quite a bit. My job takes me quite a bit, traveling quite a bit. So I only teach via Skype. It was originally Skype. Now it can be Zoom or it could be Teams. So I teach at Manipal. I teach a course called Enterprise Data Architecture. So these people came and said, okay, now that it's a lockdown, can you hold this 5 series course? I said, okay, attaboy. Now after 2 years of telling you guys, your guys have learned that e-learning is also a way to go. So there is a shift in there's a shift in the mindset. So I would think that the pandemic has actually got certain technologies going, and in the immediate near future, you need to look at those. For example, I think Mr. Mitra talked about the growth in Walmart. But if you have been following the fortunes of the cloud companies, the big ones, Google, Amazon, and Microsoft, their growth rate has been 51%. So obviously growth rate equal to hiring. Okay. Now, and so there are certain technologies which are still growing very fast, growing maybe because of the pandemic, maybe going because people want to sort of look at how do you digitize work so that people don't need to come to office. And those are the sort of jobs that are going to be there in the next 1 or 2 years. For example, I had gone to Infosys today. I was really afraid I couldn't make it. I had to go because we had a GST council meeting and running the GSTN platform, I had to present. And so obviously I prefer to present from a more stable platform. So I had gone to Infosys, and yeah, everything is fine. But out of 40,000 people, I asked the person who came to escort me inside, gave me my conference room and all that. There were only 3,000 people in the office. Okay, that's a new normal. And TCS is also talking the same thing. Okay, now coming to what are the technologies in the future, I will leave it at that. But then one is I talked about cloud, but the second is quantum computing. Today, there's $1 billion worth of funding. Not when I say dollars, you needn't go to the US, it's in India. And there are organizations within India which are looking at quantum computing. And if you're able to do quantum computing, name your price and you get picked up. Okay. Artificial intelligence. Okay. If you look at artificial intelligence, I learned quantum computing during the lockdown. That's one of the few things I did. And lo and behold, one of the deep institutions within the government of India is asking me to take a workshop for them, and so on, artificial intelligence. What is happening is that the entire thing is turning from computers being
Mr. Raghupati, you suddenly went on mute. You just need to unmute. Maybe your hand touched it. You're still on mute. You're still on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Yeah. So I just conclude with saying that the entire shift is going to become more algorithmic. I think we have a professor from Jadavpur University, so I let him take the lead on that. But I think the next generation of computer engineers who come possibly need language, because there are going to be machines which code and machines which think. So can you sort of create algorithms? And I have taught in various institutes. I've lectured in various institutes, and my job gets me students from various parts of the country. I think students from West Bengal are uniquely qualified in the mathematical space, where you should take advantage of the fact that it is going to be algorithms which dominate and not necessarily the act of coding. I'll come back after giving others a chance to speak, and we can definitely have a discussion on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Raghupati. And I think you raised some very critical points. How the overall mathematical and analytical skills would hold good, in the new world. Some of the areas you mentioned around cloud, around AI, around quantum computing, which obviously, would be the areas where organizations are looking to invest. And I do agree with you that, many of these are still, we are at the very beginning of the curve in terms of their applicability in the industry. The industry is also seeing a fair amount of automation coming in trying to avoid, human interventions. And I think intelligent automation is going to become another, critical area where a lot of investments are going in. With that, maybe I'll come to Mr. Professor Chandan Majumdar from the Computer Science Engineering Department of Jadavpur. Professor Majumdar, if you would like to give your thoughts on this topic.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Before I give my thoughts on this particular topic, I should now speak for the students, okay? For all the students who have joined, there are a lot of issues. Okay, so let me just tell you that students who are now going to the IT industry, they are not only from computer science and IT, but they are from electronics, from instrumentation, from electrical, from mechanical, and almost all other fields. They're coming to the IT industry. And if you look at the current situation across the different colleges and universities, you can find out, you can just divide the students into three categories. One who have been offered jobs already, right? There are some students who are yet to get job offers, and there are students who are preparing for going for higher education. So if I just look at this, because in our eastern region, the number of students who are passing out and going for entrepreneurship are very, very small. I mean, numbers are very small. So I'm leaving that part. So three categories are there. One who have been offered jobs, one who are yet to get the job offers, and ones who are going for higher education. For those who are going for higher education, I'm not interested in this particular webinar. For the students who have got job offers, there are different kinds of jobs. One is product companies, one is project or service companies, one is IT enabled services, one is infrastructure, and possibly consultancy like Pricewaterhouse or Deloitte, etc. Right? So these are more or less the spectrum of jobs which have been offered to the different students in different universities and colleges. And those who have not yet got job offers, of course, they are more worried than the first set. So the questions which they are asking to us and to everybody. So first of all, those students who have not yet got job offer, their question would be, what would be the prospect of getting new jobs in the next 6 months? I'm not interested in the next 2 years. Okay? Right now, we are dealing with the students who have just come out or who are just going to come out. So their question is, this prospect of new jobs in the next 6 months. Okay? That is the most important. The other one is regarding the people who have already job offer. Okay? So they have a series of questions. First of all, whether there will be delay in joining. That is a major question which many of them are asking, and which we also feel there may be some delay in joining. After joining, of course, there are a number of things. Whether there will be salary cut. I mean, whatever has been offered, whether there will be a salary cut. How much work pressure? I mean, work pressure, whether that will increase because of lack of people or whatever. And then what would be the prospects of work from home? And for that, what would be the use of, what kind of facilities they should have at home, right? So those are the things which they are now asking. The other thing which they are asking is, what are the technology skills which are required? Some points have already been mentioned by Mr. Raghupati or Mr. Anindra. But what are the technology skills which are required? What are the business skills which are required? I mean, it is not only technology which will be required in the industry. So what kind of business skills which will be important? What are the learning skills already mentioned by some people? What are the kinds of learning skills which are important? What are the social skills which are important? Because now there's a new kind of thing where you may not even go to the office at all and get employed and do your job by not even knowing who are there in your team or who are guiding you there. What are the kinds of social skills which are important? And finally, what are the survival skills? Because once, I mean, even if you get a job, maybe after 6 months you may be thrown away, right? I mean, that may happen because maybe because of the downturn of economy or whatever. The problem with this particular batch of students is, or this particular group of students, I should say, is that they have not seen those days like the Y2K boom, like the e-commerce boom or the web kind of thing. Then 9/11, then 2008 downturn and things like that. So they're not really prepared to face this kind of thing. They're prepared to have a job, right? And they're also prepared that after 2-3 years, I may have to shift my job, or I may have to leave the job elsewhere and things like that. But they're not yet prepared, or they didn't even know the history of how this IT grows over the last 30 years or 40 years. And what are the ups and downs of all this in the IT industry, and how people have already coped with this kind of. So what I request the people from industry is to take up these particular issues and discuss a little bit, so that the students who have joined here have some takeaway with them.
Thank you. Thank you,
Later on,
Professor
maybe
Majumdar.
I'll again.
Absolutely. No, I think you obviously raised some very pertinent questions. And what I'll do is I'll probably take a couple of them myself and then pass on these questions. You've asked quite a few, and I will pass on some of these to different parts of the panel. Now, I think the bigger question which you ask is that do we see a problem? The answer is yes. I think the general feel, which I think the panelists are saying, and I agree with them, is that technology probably will see far less of a bloodbath than many other industries. And to that extent, technology is in some way protected because technology is the way to go for the future. And so if overall the world has to recover, the industries have to recover, there will always be a requirement for technology, and there would be a growth. I think we talked about some of the cloud companies Mr. Raghupati talked about. We have talked about some of the core industries. So for every industry, the investments in technology are getting accelerated. The digital transformation, which they might have thought of in the next 10 years, they're now thinking that maybe we need to do that. So that's one clear thing. Would that mean that my job offers would get postponed? The joining dates would get postponed? Again, we have a lot of companies here, company representatives, but I don't want to put them on the spot because many of them would have their own company specific views, and I think let us not put them on the spot, but I think we can look at definitely delays in joining. We might have a few companies who would probably cancel their offers. For the people who have not yet got a job, it's going to be a difficult time. But again, please understand that when we went through the .com, bubble, and then the bubble burst in 2000, 2001, we had a similar kind of situation. We had a lot of companies which went bust, and we had a lot of job offers which got delayed, joining dates got delayed, job offers were rescinded. So I think it has happened in the past. It has happened in 2008 in some parts of the globe when we went through the banking crisis. So I don't think that there's a silver bullet at the end of the tunnel and we can just take that. We do have challenges coming up. I would pass on the some of the skills issues which you mentioned. Maybe Shogoto, if I can just come back to you once around what are the business skills, social skills, and survival skills. We heard the technical skills from Mr. Raghupati, but maybe if you can just highlight a bit of that as you look at it from the industry.
I think I think Professor Mazumdar said that there are students from multiple disciplines, and I think that's a very good sign because just as an example, I mean it's not necessarily a relevant example. I'm a chemical engineer. I have been in the technology line probably for last 25 years now. I have not coded a single line in my entire life, not even in my engineering college days. So, so it is not necessary that computer engineer has to be in the technology line or everybody has to be a programmer. So Professor Majumdar raised some very, or gave some very good points on what we can discuss. One part of the social skill is obviously collaboration. I think today the world, while it may get physically demarcated because of various challenges, the connectivity will ensure that everybody can reach out to one another, and organizations are slowly moving away from this concept that I will do everything. I want to control end to end. People are realizing that you need to do what you are best at and collaborate with the next guy who is best at something else, and together bring a value story to the consumer. I am not interested in buying a mobile phone because it is the world's best mobile phone. I am interested to see if it can help me communicate in the best possible way in the world. And for that, maybe two players need to come together and give a service. So as individuals, we must learn to collaborate. Very important. Second is, I think there was another concept around work from home. For sure, work from home will become more and more prevalent in India. It's already very prevalent outside. It will become more and more prevalent in India, which will require a different sense of professionalism when you are working at home. It's very easy to get distracted when at home. It's very easy to, assume that some things can be done, some things cannot be done, some things are acceptable. You need to learn that organizations will be challenged more by the end user organizations like me. If I am taking service as an argument from any of the service provider, and there are quite a few of them here on this conversation, I will be demanding more because my business is under pressure. If I am demanding more, they will be expecting more from their employees. So there will be a different form of governance. There will be a different form of deliverable management, which is not probably there today in many organizations. I think IT services company are way better because they're used to this. But even somebody like us who's manufacturing, our people are now working from home. So I need to have a platform where I can allow them to work, but at the same time govern what they're doing. So you must have a better sense of responsibility. That is one important social skill which we need to do. Then there was a question around survival. Survival means that you need to be flexible. In many cases, we build very strong aspirational goals when we are just starting our career. I want to work in the US. I want to do X. I want to do Y, which is fantastic. It is a road which you want to travel. But don't have only one road. The world is going to be difficult. All of us are saying it because we are also reading, we are interacting, and that is reality. So if you have multiple options, it allows you to probably move forward. If you have only one option, chances are you will get stuck. So I think analytical skills are very important. Ability to interact with people and learn from them. Learning skills are very important. Collaboration skills are very important. And flexibility. If you have these 3-4 things, I think you will make it. Maybe it will be tough, but for sure you will make it up.
Thanks, Shrogoto. And I will, probably go change tracks a bit. And Chiranjeev, you're on the call. One of the things which Professor Majumdar talked about was that students are really looking at, getting a job, spending 2-3 years. Professor, Mr. Raghupati, I'll come back to you just to finish this train of thought. One of the things he mentioned was to get a job, work for 2-3 years, then probably think of, further studies or something else, some change. Now, I think this entire hankering for a job versus trying to be an entrepreneur in this current, economy and current scenario, and especially being an IT entrepreneur, Your thoughts on that, Chiranjeev, or what do you think that, obviously not everybody might get a job right now, but what can they do beyond the job?
So, thank you so much, Arnav, for this opportunity, and my sincere thanks to everyone who's attending this session. Some great inputs from our honorable speakers. As far as this particular issue is concerned, see, I fully agree with all of you that there is a crisis, and while this crisis may be temporary, it is very important not to get depressed and use this time to build skills. Now, from an IT services company point of view, as you are aware, I lead a IT services and consulting organization. There are some specific requirements which we see amongst candidates, and if some of them actually quickly get skilled in those areas, the demand for those areas will continue, and it is there even now. For example, there will be a requirement to access IT systems because of change in customer buying behavior and patterns. So IT support will always be in demand. There are a lot of companies who are coming up with remote infrastructure services enabled through machine learning. So if somebody has some interest in that direction and trains himself in remote infrastructure services and does a course in machine learning, there will be a demand for that candidate. Secondly, software-driven networks. That is another area for which the demand will continue in spite of COVID. Thirdly, software-driven surveillance. That is another area where again demand will continue. Cloud computing, as the honorable speakers had already said, Mr. Raghupati had explained that how cloud computing is growing, and certifications in this cloud computing is another very critical area. Getting certified in virtualization. There will be a focus on optimizing infrastructure, optimizing capital expenditures. So there will be a major focus on virtualization. So people who have some expertise in virtualization, they will definitely have a demand. IT security is another area. Systems and enterprise architecture, application development and programming skills, help desk and technical support, analytics and data management. All these areas, in my opinion, will continue to have demand. And I mean, I can tell you about my organization. If there are people who are trained or skilled in remote infrastructure management, remote network management, remote database and middleware management, or in certified in analytics, or who know cloud migration and implementation, their demand continues to be there. Secondly, coders also will be in demand irrespective of COVID. This application development has to continue, and as you are all aware, that the paradigm of application development has moved to a DevOps model, where a developer is responsible for design, coding, testing, and running the operations. So that is another area where if there are skills, those skills may get hired even in the next 6 months. And going forward, obviously, future may be very bright once the economy comes back. As you rightly said, that there is an expectation that there will be an economic recovery also, maybe 6 to 9 months or 12 months or 18 months from now. So certifications in certain areas are things which companies look for. Certifications in database, certifications in, say, for example, Java, certification in Python, because Python has become a very popular language for analytics today. Java and C# for .NET applications at the application layer are critical. For people, Professor Majumdar was talking about people with business skills. So for them also, for people, I mean, not only engineers, but MBAs, who actually have a solid grip on macro and microeconomics, finance and accounting, marketing and strategy. Digital marketing definitely would be an additional ammunition. Those people should be having demand in the market. In the field of ERP, many of you have been such experts in ERP, but that ERP on cloud, that continues to be in demand, and hence somebody who's functionally or technically certified in the areas of financials, supply chain management, their demands also will continue. So more or less, that is what my views are on this.
Thanks, Chiranjeev. And I will come to Mr. Raghupati. Mr. Raghupati wanted to, you heard all the questions which Professor Majumdar had. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, Arnab, I've been trying to multitask by answering some of the questions which are privately sent to me. So I think there's a gentleman called Dr. Bobby Basu also has mentioned some of the questions that my answer might like to give. Last night, India time, and it was in the US, we had a very interesting talk on the future of education by the president of Trinity College, the president of Arizona University, as well as Indra Nooyi. And I've been living through this myself. Uh, Professor Mazumdar, if you're going to talk for the students, we need to talk that includes me, because I've been a student throughout my life. My last degree, I'm going to be 59, and my last degree I took 3 years back, and it was from a fairly reputed university in the United States, and I did do relatively well. I wrote my exams. The point I'm trying to make is this entire concept of cramming everything into 4 years and then saying you're done with, and then this is now you go for a job and then you sort of prosper in your job, you learn on the job and then go out. I don't know how relevant it is, because at various points in time in my career I've gone back to school, and my future includes finishing off what I didn't do at IIT, which was a doctorate, which is I'm going to do it next year after Infosys lets me go. Now, the point I'm trying to make is, as educationists, I think saying that, okay, I'm done with you for 4 years and then you start off a career, I don't think that's the way it is. The second thing is, in a career, I myself have changed my career 5 times. Graduated as a civil engineer, built power plants, so learned electrical engineering, went into mechanical engineering workshop because that was the job I wanted to stay in Chennai, built chemical plants, ran a chemical plant, then went into management consulting, and then computing happened. Okay. So I think we need to get rid of this notion that, yes, I will pass, I will get 90%, I'll get into a great job, and I will do it. Because everything lasts only for 2 to 3 years. Even if a person has got 90%, if 2 years later there's a fellow who has got only 60% and he has caught up on the latest skills, I will take him. Okay. So you asked a couple of questions. Now, you're talking about the stress induced in students. Yeah, that's commonplace. It's been lucky for the last few generations that they didn't have stress induced in them. But I remember when I came out of college, I had a degree in civil engineering, went into civil engineering. Civil engineering didn't pay that well. I went into civil engineering because my dad was a civil engineer, chain tracks. So the point I'm trying to make, sir, is the reality of the situation is that these stresses are not going to go away. The reality of the situation is that reskilling every 1 or 2 years or even far lesser is the norm of the day, especially if you choose IT as a career. Because I think Mr. Basu and Mr. Mitra, I don't know about Mr. Mitra, but Mr. Basu said he was in SAP. I was in SAP. Now, I wouldn't know what modules are there in SAP. SAP is long gone. Okay. We didn't build our careers on SAP. So obviously there is a skill set here and now. So let me answer you a couple of quick questions which you asked, and I'm from the industry. I can't give you industry specific things because those are very specific. Will there be people who take back, as Mr. Basu said? Yeah, it depends upon the industry. It depends upon various things. What is work from home? TCS has already said it. I already said it. Work from home is going to become possibly the new normal. We may not get to about 25% that Mr. Rajesh Gopinath, the CEO of TCS, looks at, but we may not be at 100%. It may be somewhere at 30 to 50%, which essentially means that you need to get used to all these things. Okay. The other question that you asked is, what are the skill sets we're looking at? at least in Infosys, we don't look at skill sets. We give what is called a learnability exam. If he passes a learnability exam, we take him in. And whenever there's an appraisal going on, it's about, can he learn the next platform? Okay. So I just wanted to make that point clear, that I think we need to rethink what we consider as, okay, you're done with the 4-year education, so you're qualified, and you need to start an academy.
Thank you, Mr. Raghupati, and I can't agree more with you. I think the need to continuously learn and continuously reinvent yourself is something which probably is becoming more and more relevant in the new world. And I think that's something which is a very, very important point. I think, Anindo, you've been part of IBM. IBM has been a big recruiter, but IBM has also been known for very employee-friendly measures over the years around work from home, we are probably seeing the other side of work from home now. Many people are now bored with work from home. They want to go back to office. Some people are actually bothered about the fact that, how a company is enabling us to work from home better. So any thoughts from your side as to, what are some of the things which you see happening, even for early adopters like IBM?
Yeah, so let me come back to that. Just to share some statistics. Once the lockdown started, we actually moved 97% of our employees to start working from home within the 24 to 48 hours. And we went up to 99%. Though we are slowly started to bring back few of them, but very few essential employees. I actually wanted to step back because there's a lot of questions I'm seeing in the chart in terms of what are the skills which the companies are looking for? What kind of skills do I need to acquire? And where do I acquire those skills? So I'll just spend around 2-3 minutes to answer that and then move into the work from home. See, in terms of the skills that the companies are looking for, okay, and I'm talking broadly, not just IBM over here, because we have done few surveys in terms of identifying what IT companies are looking for. And we can broadly categorize that into 3 parts. Okay, the first one is that you need to have the basic skills. By basic skills, we mean that the skills in which you are studying. It not necessarily has to be a computer science or electronics, just the basic skills in whatever area or field that you are studying in. So the basic skills. Second, which is gaining more and more importance, is the soft skills. Okay, and the third one, which is of added advantage, is the new age skills, which is like, do you know basic concepts in automation, AI, blockchain, blah, blah, blah. Okay, but as I said, the most important part which the companies are looking at, and I think most of the people here would agree with me, is how good the individual is on the soft skill aspect. And when I talk about soft skills, it comprises of 3 C's that we look into. The first one is cognitive skills, which is how well you can think logically, think rationally. Okay, and in fact, in IBM, we've got actually our IBM Watson conducting these kind of cognitive skill tests. Okay, the second one, which is become very important now, is in terms of the collaboration skills. How good the person can work as a team. Because mind you, in IT, it's all about teamwork. Okay, an individual can be exceptionally brilliant. And by the way, companies don't actually go for exceptionally brilliant kind of people, but how good is your collaboration skill? How can you team up with others to deliver? And the third and the foremost one, which I've seen is something which all of us need to invest on, is the communication skills. Okay, mind you, with the new normal coming in, where a lot of work is going to happen remotely, where you cannot have face-to-face or body language, which comprises of more than 50% of the communication that you do. It all depends on what you're going to talk and your voice. Okay, so that communication skill becomes very important. Okay, so just to reiterate, soft skills is going to become more and more important, and that's what companies are going to evaluate you along with all the other things that you are studying. And for soft skills, you need to have the cognitive skills, you need to have the collaborative skills, and you need to have the communication skills. Now, coming to the next point in terms of the new age skills, and I'm seeing a lot of questions in the chat over here. How do I acquire AI? How do I acquire ML skills? What kind of certifications do I need to do? See, from an organization perspective, I think it's very clear that we are not looking for any experts. There's ample opportunity of learning that you will get when you join any organization. What we are looking for is your keenness to learn those skills. And have you taken any kind of simple, do you have the basic knowledge around those skills? Okay, this is an interesting thing I actually wanted to share with all of you. Most of you must have heard about the terms called blue collar job and the white collar job, right? Our chairman, Jenny Romiti, actually a few years back coined a new term, which is called as the new collar job. This is to represent all the people who are going to work on the new age technology. So if you're working on an AI platform, or you are working on a cloud platform and automation, we categorize them as the new collar job. The other interesting thing that we found out is that in order to be able to do the new collar job, you actually don't need to be an engineer or a master's in business and MBA or that kind of sort of thing. You need to start learning the basic concepts. So what we did from IBM side is that we came up with our own course curricular, and we call it as the P-Tech. So mind you, it's not B-Tech, we call it as the P-Tech, Pathway to Technology. And what we did is we tied up with a number of schools and colleges in order to introduce this course. This course, by the way, starts from the 9th standard itself. Okay, and we start from class 9, it goes on till class 12, and then just 2 years of college. Okay, and then you are ready to go into the market. Okay, so 4 years of schooling and 2 years of college, 6 years, and you are ready to get into a new college job. This P-Tech, by the way, was launched, and it's already launched in 24 different countries, and we have more than 150,000 students graduating in it. The interesting piece of news I wanted to share with all of you is that this P-Tech course was announced to become open and being delivered remotely this May in our Think Forum, which is one of the largest IT forums that we have globally. Okay, so in May in Think Forum, we announced that this P-Tech will now become open P-Tech, and there are 4 countries where we'll open it up to all the students in those countries. And those 4 countries are Australia, United States, Brazil, and India. And we are expecting like 250,000 students to get enrolled in this open P-Tech. The interesting thing about this open P-Tech is, firstly, it's absolutely free of cost. Okay, so you don't need to pay anything. All you need to do is go into a website called ptech.com, ptech.org, sorry, ptech.org. Therein you will see the link for open P-Tech. And in open P-Tech, you will get an opportunity to learn all these new age skills. Okay, be it AI, be it automation, be it blockchain, everything is there. Okay, and at the end of that course, you will actually get a digital certificate from IBM. Okay, so that is going to add immense value to your resume. Okay, so again, just to reiterate, you don't have to kind of get enrolled in very costly, expensive, because companies don't look at experts in these areas. All you look at is, do you have the basic concepts? Okay, and this is just one example that I gave you. I mean, there's plethora of such examples available over the internet where you can actually go and learn these kind of skills free of cost. You don't need to invest anything. Of course, you need to invest on your time, which is very important. Okay, so having said that, I think the other thing is, sorry.
No,
having said that, the other thing which is very important is, what kind of work environment will I expect when I start joining? Now, most of the IT companies have already started remote onboarding. Okay, which means that you don't even have to move out of your home. Everything is going to come to your home. Okay, including your laptop, including your badges. Okay, including the fact that there will be remote onboarding done for you. Okay, so most companies have already started, and those who haven't done, I'm sure very, very soon they will go into that. Okay, so having said that, even from work from home, it's not just about laptop. We need to enable our employees, okay, because see, when we are, and most of our young employees, they actually stay out of paying it. Okay, they don't even have a room on their own. So we have to kind of enable them to start working from home. And that's where companies are investing in. It's not just giving a laptop. You need to have a broadband connectivity. You need to have a proper table and chair to work on. Okay, so as this continues go on and we move slowly into the new normal, you will see companies investing in enabling their employees to more and more work from home. Okay, and that is going to be the key. So again, don't expect that we will go back to what we were before this happened, pandemic started. We are gradually going into a new normal, and that new normal, at least in the IT space, will involve significant part of the workspace to continue to work from home. Okay, and that's where as employers, everyone is ensuring, at least trying to ensure that people are enabled to work from home. Okay, by facilitating them, giving them the facilities that is required. Right. I think all of that's all.
Thank you, Amindo. And I am aware of the time. We've already run through the hour we have kept for the discussion. So maybe if I can ask Chiranjeev to, unless, let me just go once to all the speakers. Any last comments from any of you? Otherwise, I'll ask Chiranjeev to probably summarize and conclude. Any last comments from Shogoto? I'll come to you, Professor Majumdar. Any last comments from Mr. Raghupati?
Yeah, can I say something?
Yes, of course, Professor Majumdar.
Yeah, whatever Mr. Raghupati has said and others have also said, I mean, it's very important that the students enter into the lifelong learning phase, right? It's not that they will be just getting a degree and getting a job and then that's all, right? And this is not only true for the students, it is true for us also. I mean, I graduated from Jadavpur University in Electronics and Telecommunication. And then I went for our master's in telecommunication. And then I went for the computer science teaching. And then I have been in computer science teaching, but almost every 3-4 years, I'm changing the different, the skills and the subjects which I teach, the topics in which I do research and things like that. So it's extremely important that in order to survive, in order to pass through the different phases of life, you have to change your the skill set, as well as you have to mature as a human being, and you have to have some kind of fellow feeling, okay, where you will also contribute to the society. It is not that you will only do your job in a proper manner, earn your living, but also you should now think about giving back to the society. I mean, that's very important, and that's my last word to the students.
Thank you, Professor. Any last comments from Shogoto or from Mr. Raghupati?
What I would also kind of suggest is that if the youngsters can look at areas which will drive our economy forward for the next few years, that is a good area to invest yourself in. For example, customer facing roles, supply chain roles which are in the area of sustainability, renewable energy. So you will see that the world is completely changing its paradigm, and everybody is becoming environment conscious. Everybody wants to have customer first. So anything which you are doing in this area, whether it is technology or on the domain side, in the long run it will be beneficial. So just think through and identify these areas.
Thank you, Shogoto.
Arnab, I just want to make a closing remark. See,
Sure.
It is the generations which come through trying times, be it in India or anywhere in the world, which actually lead the country to progress. In the US, it was the generations post-World War II and the Great Depression, which built US into the country that it is. If you read the history of Steve Jobs, he failed, he became bankrupt, he was kicked out of his own company, and then he became the icon that he is. And I have shaken hands with a great gentleman, and it has not been an easy ride. Many of you would not know, but I've been a lifer at Infosys. At one point in time, when Mr. Murthy teaches us, there was a time when Infosys was about to be sold off for $1 million. Okay, when it was a very small company, because the founders thought they couldn't go further with it. So it's always darkest before the sunrise comes up. I would think your generation is blessed to have gone through some degree of fire by this COVID. Take advantage of some of the changes that are being brought by COVID, just like World War II bought in Europe and World War II bought in the US. Take advantage of some of the changes that liberalization bought in 1991 and the Infosys and the TCS came forth. Okay. I still remember the days in Infosys when 6 of us shared a room. Today you can talk about whatever you want in Infosys. Okay. So youngsters on the call, guys, go forth. These things will happen. Technology is a great space to be in. Reskill yourself. The world is yours, and reach out to bald heads or gray hairs like me, and we'll definitely help you along the way and cheer you on.
Thank you.
I can see a lot of pessimism. Don't be pessimistic.
Thank you, Mr. Raghupati, and I think very aptly put. Chiranjeev, final comments. You have the final word.
Yeah, how much time do we have or no?
We have run out of time, but you take whatever time.
Yeah, I will quickly summarize. Before that, there is one piece of data which I wanted to share, that even under this kind of a crisis, over 2 lakh jobs have been advertised by employers recently, as late as April. This is from an article from Economic Times, and they had engaged a search firm to get this data for them. And companies like Amazon, Google, Tech Mahindra, VMware, IBM, Capgemini, Deloitte, JP Morgan Chase, Big Basket, etc. They had advertised for these kind of jobs, and the total number was about 2 lakhs. And out of that, 79% had IT and ITES openings, about 15% had e-commerce and BFSI openings. Most advertised jobs included software engineers, programmers, full stack developers, and even in the non-technical space, there was a huge demand for sales and marketing professionals. So actually, I exactly echo the word said by Mr. Raghupati just now, that actually there is no space for pessimism or depression. This is the time to build our skills and wait for the sunrise. To summarize our discussions very briefly, technology in this pandemic era has a major role in handling this crisis and even going forward. While demand is low and supply is low, but we definitely expect that there will be recovery. It may take some time, but there will be recovery, and hence especially our freshers should continue to skill themselves, build skills, and so that they can actually take full advantage of this crisis. Look at this crisis as an opportunity instead of getting depressed. It is important to link IT to the core engineering branches so that people with various backgrounds, mechanical, electrical, chemical, etc., all these branches, they can actually synergize with IT and even find a space in the IT industry if that interests them. Segments like healthcare, pharma, agriculture, education, they have actually gone for a very high level of automation, and that can only increase. Digital adoption will keep on increasing, creating opportunities in these segments for employment. Downturns have not been uncommon, and it's not that the world is seeing downturn for the first time. And therefore, it's very important for all of us, and especially for the young students, to keep our mental balance. There is no doubt that IT has a very bright future, and it will be all pervading going forward. It's not any one specific tool or two tools that may fix that may get somebody a job. One has to have an open mind to learn multiple tools going forward. as our honorable speakers had said, that openness of mind to be flexible and learn whatever is required to survive, that flexibility will actually keep you going. Economy is expected to be down, but at the same time, we expect technology to drive the resurgence of economy again. And since technology has come to the forefront because of this crisis, adoption to technology has become mandatory. And hence, this technology adoption should drive all of us to strengthen our technical skills, our technology skills, and apply technology in as many domains as we want. There has been significant boom in certain segments, like e-commerce. Walmart had a growth of about 79%, which is a point to be noted, and hence there will be a lot of opportunities in the e-commerce space also to work. This work from home has actually almost become the new normal, and going forward, the culture of work from home will only enhance as expected. Now that has actually created a level playing field for IT professionals. So it doesn't really matter from where you operate, as long as you have the basic skills and the keenness to learn, you can definitely do a meaningful job. In fact, post 9/11, demand, just like demand had increased, similarly we expect emerging technologies to take over in handling the current crisis and going forward also. Global economy is definitely expected to recover, while it may take some time, but it is not that it's an irreversible situation. There has been a major shift to e-learning, e-tutoring, and hence it's clear that the pandemic has got technologies going. Cloud computing is actually growing at a huge rate, which is obvious from the growth from Google, Amazon, Microsoft. There is huge funding in the area of quantum computing, and if people who are interested in learning quantum computing, they may have great opportunities going forward. We are absolutely conscious and sensitive to the fact that the students who are passing out, who have job offers at hand and who don't have, all of them have different kinds of problems. To overcome this problem, while the industry remains committed to help the students, at the same time, it is very important to continuously keep on building skills and keep connecting, keep networking, so that the slightest opportunity you can get placed. Digital transformation is becoming faster and faster, and hence one needs to actually take full advantage of this digital transformation. And the more skills you build, the more quickly you are expected to get placed. Collaboration between organizations has become extremely critical. It's no longer a situation where an individual or a company can declare that he or she can do everything and capture the market. That is not feasible anymore, and hence collaboration has become extremely critical. Certain soft skills appear to be very important over and above whatever we are able to learn in engineering or management or IT or other disciplines. So cognitive skills, collaboration skills, and communication skills are points which will be very important for candidates to get placed and also to survive in companies. So the bottom line is, as long as we are open to learn new concepts, new technologies, we should be able to move forward. Things like remote onboarding has become very popular now, and hence people have to be actually have to get ready to make themselves work from home ready. That is very important. Work from home culture has not yet fully actually taken over in our country, and hence many of us need to completely adjust to the requirements and needs of work from home, so that we can actually meet the requirements of these companies. Arnav, more or less, I have completed the summary. Would you like to? Arnav?
So thank you, Chiranjeev, and I think I'll take the opportunity to, thank all the speakers. It has been a great, hearing from you all. Most of us share the optimism that some of us have very clearly spelled out. And I think the future is bright. Don't worry about it. And at least technology future is definitely bright for not only India, but for the entire world. With that, I would like to bring today's discussion to a close. Once again, thanks to Shogoto, thanks to Anindo, thanks to Mr. Raghupati, Professor Majumdar, Chiranjeev, and to all the participants for their patient hearing. Thank you.
Thanks to the chamber also for organizing this.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Thank you, panelists.
Thank
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you
all.
to everybody.